Good morning, it's Brian here. You are on the Art of Startup War. I have a phenomenal entrepreneur here again today. As you all know, these companies are companies that we have invested in or that we are investing in only. So every single company I bring you, if you are an investor, you are looking for reasons why we invested, and you're looking to try and learn as much from the company as you possibly can so you can see reasons why you should potentially invest. If you're a startup, a few of our audience are, not very many, but a few are. If you're a startup, I think you're going to get some phenomenal tips because you want to understand how are these companies securing investment from institutional investors and how are they becoming so strong. So I'll try and see if we can help you too. But the majority of what we're talking about here is the investment opportunity for folks that invest in early stage startups. So I want to invite Rushabh to the show. We've got a phenomenal company, which is Matchbook Services. Matchbook Services is a company that we absolutely love. It is in the data space. I love data right now. Data is the new oil. And whether it's data cleansing or whether it's data integrity or whether it's data management, that is the goal. That is the key to every single kingdom right now. And so we know that just having data actually isn't a good thing. Having data is a terrible thing because now you're going to get attacked from everywhere. And I want to actually talk a little bit, maybe as we go into this, about Google and what's happened with Google, because I think that speaks volumes. If one of the largest companies in the world that is making $15 billion a month on their data is so terrified that they're going to give it up in the hope of going after federated learning, it says so much about the power of data, but how scared folks are around data. What is glorious about your company is the timing that it presents right now, whereby you are able to come into these organizations and say, it's okay, we got you. There's actually a really good solution, which is us, that can resolve an awful lot of the worries that you have, which is about the chaos of the data that you currently have. Now, that's my hack job of why I love your company so much. I want to go deeper into that. And I want to go deeper into how you created and where you created and why you created. And I want to go into the genesis of the problem. And then I want to talk about the incredible traction that you've built. And I want to try and paint a road of what it looks like to get to your Series A and beyond, where the company goes. But before we do all of that, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey and what took you to this place of managing the data for some of the largest organizations on the planet.
Good morning, Glenn. Excited to be here today. Let me talk about my journey. So I am a data geek through and through. I knew very early on in my career as a chemical engineer in the past, and beyond that, it was all about data, and data is what excited me. So the last 25 plus years, I've been working in the data space, whether it's building analytics systems for large companies, whether it's building data integration services. And like you said, the number one problem with data is that it's not always clean. That's a big problem, right? And that's the problem I've been solving day in and day out from the time I started my journey in this industry. So that's really what drives me is the promise of data, but then the promise of what clean data can really deliver to organizations.
And this became, I think, the most scary with GDPR, right? Once GDPR, like there was 15 years of non-scariness, 15 years where organizations said, we can do whatever we want. It's okay. You can have their phone numbers, their addresses. You keep it on your file here. We get an audit once a year, but I know the guy in the audit office. So don't worry, we'll be okay. And then suddenly, like a tsunami, GDPR came in and the entire world was terrified. Like it's in Europe and people in America are terrified about it. It has changed the entire world. Was that the moment or was that just the more public moment?
That was the more public moment of companies realizing they really needed to know what data assets they had. Right? But the moment for data quality has been much before that. It's when you look at BI tools, analytical tools, you talk about 20 years back, Suddenly, everyone was talking about data warehousing. Suddenly, everyone was talking about analytics. And the moment they started bringing in data from across the organization, it became very clear to them that data quality was shit, right? To put it mildly.
Mm.
You IBM talks about the cost of data quality to organizations, and just in the US alone, this costs US enterprises $3 trillion a year. Just think about that number, 3 trillion. It's not billions, it's $1 trillion. That's massive scale of this problem, right?
And where is that money being spent? So when you say the cost of 3 trillion, is that the cost of bringing consultants in to clean it? Is it the cost of fines? Because
It
I know
is,
Google, like
yes,
actually, so Google did what they did, but I knew 3 years ago that they had allocated 2% of their entire revenue towards what they believed the fines were going to be for data that they found impossible to comply with, like zero way that they could get out of them.
right. And the cost to businesses is in multiple places. There is the lost opportunity cost to a business, right? It's not identifying the right opportunities, the cost of that. It is the cost of the risk, the inherent business risks, not understanding the credit information about your customers, or not understanding how that is changing, how the risk profiles of your customers or vendors are changing. You have vendors that you're buying critical components from, and without notice, they go out of business. There is a real cost to your business for that too, right? And so when you think about these costs, it's not that they went out of business without you knowing. It's just that you were not following the signals of your vendors. You were not following the data, the financial stress, or anything. And if you think about last year, what we've been through with COVID, you know, we have seen so many businesses go under. And if you can imagine companies that were relying on these businesses for components, and suddenly these businesses are no longer available, that puts a cost to the business. And not only is it the cost just from bad data, but it's also the cost of knowledge workers that work on this data. So Harvard Business Review did a case where they estimate that knowledge workers waste up to 50% of their time just searching for and validating data. So that's a lot of time wasted. Again, that is a real cost to the organization. And then, of course, as you rightly said, fines, right? I am doing business with an entity I should not be doing business again with, because maybe they are on a sanctions watch list. They are on an OFAC watch list, and I shouldn't be doing business with them. And there's fines associated with that. And you're seeing more and more of those fines coming in, especially as you look at companies like Amazon, like Google, but even financial institutions, PayPal, Mastercard, all of the ones, anyone that has monetary transactions with a business, you are required to know who you're doing business with.
So when did you have the genesis of the idea, this current idea? Because over the last 20 years, you knew that it was a fascinating place to be around. And I'm sure you played around the data from how do I manage the data better? How do I analyze the data better? How do I make sure that we have the data captured in a better way? How do we store the data better? How do we protect ourselves? How do we secure the data? Like, it's almost like there's a continual revolving amount of things that you need to do around the data. When was the moment where you suddenly had that light bulb go off and you thought, oh my goodness,
Yep,
Matchbook Services has to exist?
So when you think about how a business typically goes through their data quality journey and solving that data, it's a lot of inward-facing solutions, right? If you look at solutions like Talent, you look at MDM solutions, they are trying to take that data sprawl within the organization and try to make sense of it, try to clean that within. The aha moment for me came when I started looking at commercial data providers like Dun Bradstreet. Commercial data providers end up with a really good, valid reference set of data that they have. And the big aha moment for me was looking at this problem of data quality, looking at a really good reference set of data on the other end, which comes from a commercial data provider, and saying, if we can marry these together and do it effectively across the organization, now you really have good master data across the organization, and you start gaining an understanding about your vendors or your customers uh, or your partners that you're working with
And
as
that's
well.
where the integration comes in. That's where you can say, it's not about having disparate sets of data. You can't do anything with those. It's about integrating them together. And then it's about making sure that the data remains relevant by continuing to clean that data over a period of time. And
Exactly.
you say it here and it sounds very eloquent. And everybody says, oh, that's a very good idea. I like that. But it's one thing saying it, but
Right.
the enormity of the task of integrating and continually cleansing data from disparate sources and making sure that it remains relevant and current
Mhm.
is I don't want to say an impossibility because you did it, but it's extremely difficult.
It's challenging, right? Because it's challenging enough to solve it for one system within your organization. But then when you need to solve it across multiple systems within an organization, that task becomes even more enormous and challenging. And that's really where we come in. You know,
And that's where
that's
Matchbook came in.
that's in many ways our secret sauce. It's solving this challenge across your organization, across your enterprise, and doing it in a manner that it's almost plug and play, right? And helping customers improve data quality. So for me, that exciting moment is really when we it's not when we sign a customer, but it's the first time the customer sees the value of the data they are now getting back, the cleanliness of the data, and the information that they truly needed for business decisions. And that's the exciting part for me to see that.
I love when I think about data today and the challenges around of it, I think of a huge wave, right? And being on top of that wave on a surfboard. Now, I am an Irish guy, so we are not known for our surfing, right? So if I imagine this huge wave and the thrill of being on top of the wave, but the terror of knowing the actual sheer drop into that wave as you go down. That's
Right.
what data is like today. We've reached a point where there is so much data. It is coming from so many sources, so many different areas. Everything becomes data. And the actual challenges that companies have got, it's not a question of companies saying we can manage this ourselves anymore. They now require this service. So you decided, I have this idea, and then suddenly I changed to we. And that's how you've started. And even over the last couple of minutes, we've started moving to, and we did this and we did that. So talk to me a little bit about how you then made that step to, that's the problem. This is the solution. This is what we need to do. Yes, it's difficult, but yes, I'm rather genius at this because I've been doing it for 20 years. So I have a general outline. But who do you need with you as part of the rest of the A team? And what do they look like? So talk to me a little bit about that team and what you did to create the product.
Absolutely. So my team was the most important part of this puzzle, right? It was not just defining the solution, but it was building the right solution. So I needed an A team that was data experts, data integration experts, data cleansing experts. I've been in this field for uh, for a large amount of time, and it was finding those people that understood the same problem that could help not just guide the solution, but also help build it, right? And that was really key. It's we built the solution, and the next thing we did was we went to customers. We wanted to get real proof points, and interesting thing about getting customers, getting your first customer, is they really start helping you guide your solution, right? You know the problem, you know what you're trying to accomplish, you build something, but then it's the customers that really guide you into what is truly needed from an enterprise perspective. And truly speaking, when I actually went into building the solution, it was with a very singular integration lens. It's taking data from a singular system and connecting it to a referential source like Dun and Bradstreet. But as I started working with my customers, I realized that it's not good enough, right? That's almost the status quo, a little better. But where it gets interesting is how can I use this to effectively integrate all the way back to my point of origination of data? Because one of the biggest problems that you see within organizations why data quality sucks is there's multiple origination points of data. There's
Right.
multiple systems. Whether it's you have an ERP system, a CRM system, an order processing system, all of which never talk to each other because they typically don't need to. But then you acquire companies, you merge with companies, and suddenly you acquire a second CRM system, a second ERP system. And we have certain enterprises as our customers that have close to 50 different ERP systems.
Wow.
Imagine trying to make sense of your vendors that are spread out across 50 different ERP systems globally, right? And that's the problem we can solve right away.
Incredible.
So that was important, right? And so customers really helped us. The right team, having these experts who knew this problem space, who knew the data space, who knew integration, who knew data cleansing, was the other key component that we brought along.
Wonderful. And then you got your first customer, and I'm sure you remember your first customer, and then that first customer gave you, and I love what you also said, the ultimate truth is your customer. Like your customer tells you, advisors, mentors, experts, blah, blah, blah. Customers is all that matters, because customers will show you the way. And the wonderful thing about most customers is once you hear it from one or two or three or four, you start to find that many of the other comments that are coming back are just reinforcing or reflecting what those three or four major comments are coming from at the start. So that's wonderful. So talk to us a little bit about that first implementation. Was everything plain sailing, or did you have any challenges on this journey at all?
Oh, there were a lot of challenges. So with our first customer, what was interesting was we needed to build out a lot more functionality within our platform to make it truly enterprise grade. And it literally required us to go back and re-architect the platform. And between the first iteration of this solution that we built to what we have today, we've gone through three major re-architectures of the platform. And that's phenomenal, right? Because that really allows us to learn from our customers, learn from these implementations, and then go back to the drawing board and say, what are the next 100 customers going to need? And how are we going to solve for that, for the next 100 customers? And then going back and redoing that infrastructure. I think that's really key.
It's wonderful. And you're absolutely right. Like that whole process of execute, learn, adapt, execute again is so phenomenally important, but it's also so tiring, right? Because you do it, you deploy it, your whole team. How many people do you have in your engineering team?
So in our engineering team, we have 15 people as of now.
Whoa. Where are they based?
A combination of US and India.
So it's incredible. It's like having a football team of 15 people go out on the pitch and out at the end of the game, you say, you guys played the most incredible game you've ever played in your entire life. We're going to do American football next week.
Exactly.
Whoa, we just played soccer, for God's sake. What are you doing? But it's required. And then when you get out the other side, it's glorious and it's beautiful because you see what you've built. But it's exhausting getting there, right? And mentally and physically.
It is. It's exhausting, but the reward is that you become more and more competitive. Your platform, your solution now starts standing out across anything else out there over your competitors or anything, right? And that's the key. Is if we are not innovating, then someone else is going to in that space. And so I think innovation is key. That sometimes means that you have to go re-architect the platform. And that's absolutely okay.
Yeah, fantastic. And you've built the right team to do that. And then, so then you've worked your way through, you've evolved the product time and
Mhm.
again, based on what the customers have told you. Talk to us a little bit about how your revenue has grown and then what's coming next.
Right. So we finally ended last year with over $1 million, 1.1 million in signed contracts,
Phenomenal.
and about $950,000 of that ARR.
Phenomenal.
And that was slightly over double what we ended 2019 with.
It feels
This
good.
year,
It feels good though,
sorry,
right?
yep,
It feels good.
it feels absolutely good. And what feels even better is 100% of our customers from 2019 have been our customers in 2020 and have already signed in 2021
Ah, doesn't
and beyond.
surprise me. I
Right.
heard you
So,
pitch. I heard you pitch the first time, and you know this, but the people listening don't know this. There are certain people who call us because we're a VC and people will hear about us, or maybe they've been referred over by somebody and they will be emotionally involved to wanting Expert Dojo to help. But I had to chase you down. I mean, I had chased you down. I chased Brenda down. You made me beg from the I actually heard your pitch with an angel group, a wonderful angel group actually, and the angel group were talking. There was two or three companies who came on, and they'd spoken about one of the companies, and I just couldn't understand it because your company was so far ahead of any other company that I had seen in the previous month. Like that's how good your company is for me, that I didn't even understand why anybody was having any discussion. So even during their meeting, I said, whoa, let's just stop for a second here. Do you understand what you've just heard? If timing is everything in a company, and timing without expertise is just timing. Timing with expertise, that's a unicorn. Like you build the right domain expertise with the perfect timing, and you have gold, you have oil, like you have the future everything. And so right now, we know that data is the most precious commodity that we have. We know that you have a tremendous experience. Brenda, who's come in, who's working with you as well, is absolutely phenomenal on the strategy side. You've got an engineering team of 14, 15 people who are building and rebuilding and iterating and changing and adapting and improving the product every single second. You are doubling your revenue every single year. Like, I don't even think people like me need to be that smart. I really don't. I don't think that as a venture capitalist, it's a particularly hard thing to do if you just look at the fundamentals. You don't follow the fashions, but you stick with the fundamentals. Your fundamentals, in my view, are so absolutely perfect for what you're building, how you're building it, and where you're going to go. I would go so far as to say that even if you didn't really raise money, you would still build a unicorn. It would take you longer,
right.
absolutely, but you would
Mhm.
still build a unicorn. That's how strongly I believe in what you're building today.
Yeah. So we have mainly bootstrapped our company, and it's been a combination of me. We raised a little bit from friends and family, and we took all our customer revenues and plowed it right back into building this company. All of our employees, all of our contractors, partners, all pitched in to that, right? So it was shared sacrifices that was made across the board to bring this company to where it is. I absolutely believe in what we are doing, and the proof is in our customers, right? The proof is looking at our customers really succeed where they failed after making millions of dollars in investments for years, and to see them succeed in as little as 2 months on our platform is phenomenal, and that's the proof point, right? So that drives us every single day to continue to grow as a company, right? And you're right. We will continue to grow. We will continue to make these investments in product, these investments in the market, and so on, whether we raise or not.
Mm.
Raising, as you said, allows us to get there faster. What excited me about you, Brian, is you get the space, you get the data problem, you get the space, and when you heard us pitch, you understood what we were going after, right? And just as I look back and as Brenda and I did more research into Export Dojo, in terms of just helping us accelerate where we need to be that $3 million by the end of the year, if not more, 10 million by the end of next year. It's not unachievable in our space, right? It's absolutely achievable because this is that data quality space, that data services space itself is a multi-billion-dollar space.
I absolutely
right?
agree.
And companies are absolutely, they have to solve this problem. It's not just good business for them to solve, but it's also in the context of business risk. Business risk can be everything to these businesses. It can be reputation, and it can be everything, and they have to solve it, and they have to get it right? And so we know that we are going to get there. We need the right sort of accelerator like Export Dojo, which really excites us about being part of this program, and which is why we did our research and we said, yep, this is the way we go.
Well, I will tell you now, my full intention is to put $1 million into your company. Full intention. I believe you are going to be a superstar. I believe that we're going to get you to $300,000-$400,000 with some humble help that we're going to push your direction. I believe we're going to be able to showcase you to investors who desperately need to see what you're going to do. I believe that actually, by the end of next year, you will be somewhere between 5 and 10 million. I actually believe it's going to be 10 million, but let's say 5, 6, 7, 8 million. It doesn't matter. It's still such huge strides that you're growing at that by the time you then get to like 24, 25, then you become a unicorn. I believe the data is such a huge problem right now. It is keeping CEOs awake like nothing else. This is no longer a CISO's problem. It's no longer, the folks in operations that are looking at it. CEOs realize that, as we saw with Google, like they realize that an entire business model needs to be changed based on the challenges that data actually account for right now.
Absolutely. Yep. I think data is big. This data services is big, and to get that promise of clean data and to do it right is excellent. We are today in I think 10% of the Fortune 50 in the US, and that's saying a lot, right? These are companies. Most of these companies are already on multi-year contracts with us, or have renewed into a second or third year, and using our solution, and that's a great proof point that we are doing something right.
And is it just as simple as more of the same? Or do we need to evolve into something special? Do we need to evolve into something much bigger? Is there a bigger play? Because that was the only thing. As I actually believe, there's no question in my mind, more of the same will get you to $10 million a year next year, halfway through the following year, right? That's not even in question. And you will grow to probably twice that amount within the following year after that. But is there something huge here, like something so enormous that we can hardly even grasp it?
Yeah, so we are, what we have built so far, we have already evolved our product beyond that. We are already evolving to new things that we are doing, both on the end user game, on the end user enterprise solution side, and also on the data management space. So we are evolving our platform. We want to take our licensing from, say, from $50,000 to $200,000 to $250,000 to maybe $1 million license, right, as an enterprise solution. And for that, we need to constantly build those value points within our platform, and we are doing that. So we haven't stopped to just do what we keep doing, but we are continuing to evolve. We are continuing to learn from our customers. We are continuing to learn from the market. We keep looking at regulations and rules and things that businesses have to follow, and see how that impacts this data space and where we can evolve more. We are looking at just about everything we can to see where that next area is that we need to start investing in as well.
So look, you heard it here. I could say this is going to be, one of the biggest integration plays or one of the biggest cleansing plays in the space. I think this is going to be one of the biggest ownership plays. I think this company is going to be synonymous when people think about data and how we manage and deal with our data. And I believe that you just remember, you heard it here, Matchbook Services, this man, his partners, their team are going to dominate in this space. And you also heard me say that we're going to put $1 million into this company in the future, which we are. So I want to leave it with you just to finish with. And finish us up with, obviously, we want to make sure everybody's got your email address and everybody's got your details so that they can contact you. But also finish us with something inspirational about data. So tell us, rather than all of because I focus on the fear, the uncertainty, and the doubt, right? Everything I'm doing here is the opportunity that I see within your company, which is that data is scary and data is tough and people should be afraid and you can't protect the data because and cybersecurity threats and how do we integrate it? But finish us up with something really powerful about data, the reasons why you're behind data, what data means for the world, and why you being in such a powerful position within the data space is so incredibly important.
Data to an organization means everything, right? It's the competitive advantage. If you can't get that data right, you can't get your competitive advantage right. And so that's pretty much it. Forget the risk aspect of it, forget everything else, but it's that competitive advantage that you can gain if you do data right. That's by far the most important, and we are here to help. So I'm Rushabh Mehta. My email is rmehta@matchbookservices.com. Our website is matchbookservices.com, and I'd love to hear from you.
Rushabh, it is a pleasure. It is a pleasure having you in the cohort. I am so looking forward to the next 6 or 7 weeks. We are going to do absolutely incredible things together. I'm so looking forward to what's going to happen within this company. I'm so looking forward to being proven right. It will be my easiest right ever. And for any investors out there, you need to get on the phone and sit down and have a chat with this man and his organization and see what they're building, because it's truly incredible. Rushabh, thank you, my friend. To be continued.
Thank you, Brian.